He doesn't have a cog. Let's give him a head start.
Why not? It's not like he can transform.
Oh, yeah? Well, watch this.
Feels like we've had a billion Transformers movies, Mark. This, obviously, Transformers 1 is the latest one. Came out in a couple weeks ago. This came out mid-September. I will say it's a short movie, only 104 minutes, and we'll talk about the story and the fact that the runtime kind of gives it a little bit of limitation. Its budget is $147 million, and at the moment it is bombing. It only made $41.9 million so far. It's weird, right? Because everyone said for Transformers they're tired of the Michael Bay stuff, but if you look back at, this is just the death of a franchise, it seems like, because Transformers came out last year with Rise of the Beast, and I think that this might just be a little bit of an issue of oversaturating the market a bit. Even Rise of the Beast did okay theatrically. It didn't make a lot of money. It made its money back and more, but it was fine. It was a stable success for the most part. But when you look back at Transformers, the Bay movies, the last Bay movies made more than Bumblebee, than Transformers Rise of the Beasts, and this movie. All the Bay movies made more than that, and they did have cultural significance, but it is a shame that it seems like when you try to make a movie that's more accurate to what, the fans say they want, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess, people are catching, sequelitis, because...
Well, not Inside Out 2. Fucking the highest grossing movie.
I mean, for franchises that, just keep going on and on and on and on and on, for, because, Fast X didn't make that, it's,
It's right.
Yeah. We're, Mission Impossible.
That one, I get, we talked about this. I think that you don't release an old man movie between two other old man movies, especially even if it's Indiana Jones, that pulled some, and then you had another old man movie. You had Oppenheimer, I'm sorry. Not old man.
It didn't feel like Tom Cruise was old in that.
It's a big name. I'm trying to think of the word, but it was going right up. It only had a week before Oppenheimer, a week or two before Barbenheimer. And so all the interest in the heavy-set, R-rated volume audience went to Oppenheimer. I don't think that was Mission Impossible being sequelitis. Though I think it's a fine example, but I think, it's not the right example.
And I know I'm saying this while talking about Transformers 1, which is not a sequel, it's just a different...
Tries to reboot. Or just reset. It goes back.
It's trying to be its own thing.
Yeah.
I think they're still working on the live action movies too at the same time. It's trying to branch out. It's trying to be a branch out, but people are just we already got enough of this stuff.
By the way, you are Canine Biscuits. That's Mark over there. I am. Bryan the Baltimorean. Find me.
Wait, let me read no, I'm Garfield. It says Garfield.
The symbol, the sign at the bottom. It's on your shirt right now. It's not.
Let me check my underwear. Canine Biscuits. All right. Susan.
Did you get those from Diddy too, Mark? By the way.
What?
So,
Diddy Kong.
One of the interesting things about this is Transformers 1 is supposed to be a trilogy of movies. That's the plan. That was what it was written to be, apparently. When you look at the development time, they said, okay, our plan is to write 3 of these. However, it seems like theatrically we're not going to get those if this movie continues to financially flounder. Might be set in its ways here. Obviously, the way that this movie is set up, it's a prequel. It's supposed to show us the development of how Optimus Prime becomes Optimus Prime, how Megatron becomes Megatron, how the two that were buddies at one point become enemies. And what did you think? We don't have to talk about what we thought going in. We can just talk about what we thought about the movie itself. What did you think about just how they handled the story, how they handled the progression? Anything that stood out to you?
I think the first 10 or 15 minutes of the movie were very generic. I think it picks up an interest for me when we get to his name is Megatron. I get these names mixed up all the time.
A lot of tech heavy names.
The antagonist.
The antagonist, the big blue
silver
guy.
one, the silver main
You're talking about the guy that's his buddy, or are you talking about
his buddy?
Yeah. Megatron.
Megatron. There we go. I got it right.
Also, they're not named Optimus and Megatron in the beginning for the movie. I'm not talking about. I'm talking the audience, guys. They're not. So again, we had to deal with the different names.
something.
So Optimus is Orion Pax, I believe, and then
Ryan Johnson.
But so that's when the movie got good for you. Like, so when he started shifting, that's when.
Yes, even though like I wasn't really feeling for it because I feel like it happened like just soon. I mean, I can get why it happens there, but like I feel like it could have been slower, the development of it. But like it was still interesting to see him just like go too far. I do like that kind of arc in any like in medias where it's like in fiction where you see like a kind of a villain origin story, like you see them like slowly get nuts and crazy.
Yeah, and I think again, I think there's I was talking to Martin about this because he had just come out of the theater yesterday evening, and he was talking about the fact that he liked the story. It was a little quick though in the way that they kind of have him shift over, and I wish that there was a little bit more about when they are not as because they go from. I do like the idea of they are minors, not minors. They are minors.
Stop sexualizing minors!
But and they do all that. They're in the underbelly, right? They're treated like nothing, and they think they're working with purpose, but they're not. They're just useless in the grand scheme. They're treated as useless essentially in the grand scheme. And they get a chance because Optimus is so interested in getting after it, right? And I like the idea of the rest of the miners seeing two of them succeeding. I thought that there was a little bit of that we would have gotten, oh, this is a significant turning point. But after that, we go underground and we're with Bumblebee, and we don't really get much more of that until the very end, until the last 10 minutes of the movie. I do think that, yes, it gets much more interesting once they're on the train. The train kind of actually pushes the story into, I think, an interesting point. I think visually it looks much better when they're out of the city. The city's fine.
I did like the idea of this. I did like some of the, like part. I don't like to set it. I don't like... fuck. I don't love the setting, but I do like some aspects of it, even though like some parts of this robot world still confuse me. Like I still don't remember all the names of those MacGuffins because they're like the Transformers franchise always have like different MacGuffins and different names for them.
Yes. Yeah, it's again, and I have to give them props. Like again, this was the first attempt from the studio for theatrical, and now, by the way, we're not going to get another just Transformers movie probably theatrically ever, because this is currently bombing.
This is probably going to continue on fucking Netflix.
If it continues, but I'm saying if it continues to bomb, we're not going like the idea of investing in a purely Transformers movie without humans is gone, because this did so bad, and again, it doesn't really have competition right now, so. But I like the fact that we're in Cybertron. We're in this place where it all starts. We're getting the ideas. We're getting the building blocks. Again, you talked about it when we were on the phone after you had seen the movie, and it was like, yeah, like this story is very, especially in the beginning, like you've seen this before. You've seen how it builds up. If you've watched movies like this, you've seen it before, where the characters are learning more and they feel like they need a bigger purpose and blah blah blah. Right? You've been there. You've done that. It's not new. But I did treat this as a bit of a history lesson for a franchise that I was curious about, that I never really took advantage of. Where it's like, okay, Cybertron. Didn't know anything about Cybertron. All I've seen of Cybertron is, I've watched a few episodes of some Transformers shows, and Cybertron appeared in, I think, Transformers Dark of the Moon, the Michael Bay movie. Like, very minor amounts of time relating to what this world is, and its impact, and what it looks like in its prime. That's the best thing about it, is what does it look like in its prime? What does it look like when you have all of these
Optimus Prime.
Robots together? that are like, because it's a living, thriving ecosystem, and most of the time we see Cybertron, it's dead. So there is a positive here that I don't want to overlook.
I've never seen the movie before, but like I heard people like saying if they wanted an all Transformers movie that's like the opening of Bumblebee. Have you seen Bumblebee before?
I haven't seen it in a while. What is the opening of Bumblebee?
Apparently, it's just like it takes place in any Transformers world, and it's like a fucking big action scene. Apparently,
it's interesting because I will say that's one of the best benefits about this movie is we get some great combat sequences that I think that's where this movie shines visually. I think the combat sequences are very well done.
I think that all Transformers movie with the characteristics of and like probably even visual style, like the Transformers from the way they look in Rise of the Beast, they look and like the characteristics of those Transformers is like I think would have been a lot better. Like I know we're supposed to just get the origin, but like I think like if we just have an all Transformers movie with those characters, with the main characters from Rise of the Beast, I think it would have been like pretty solid.
I do agree. The way that look, there are moments. So it's clear that they're going after the toyetic design here more than ever with this movie. And in certain moments it looks great, but in other moments it looks bad. Like it looks like wow, this feels like it is very either not dated necessarily, but it just doesn't look good. Not to say that it didn't take time, but just certain moments looked absolutely excellent. Again, they nailed the transformations, but I do think, like you said, if this were consistent with the live action-ish CGI that we've gotten in this new universe of Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast, and now this movie, if we kind of kept it consistent, that probably might have brought more people in. Because I don't know if people thought this was like a kid's movie or not. Like, I don't know what the detriment was for this movie, but we both talked about the marketing as it didn't really seem exciting, ran over the same jokes, and it looked like something we had seen before in the marketing. And I mean, I think it did a little more than that theatrically when I watched it, but it's not doing anything that wildly different than expected.
Yeah, like I said over the phone, like what's cool about this movie is it's a movie about robots made by robots, and I say that in a way where it's like a lot of the dialogue just kind of feels like algorithmic. It's just like it's generic. Like a lot of the characters, a lot of character dialogue just feels like stuff I heard before from like other movies. Like, I mean, plot points and like story beats. I mean, you can reuse those as much as you want, as long as the characters that are within those story beats are interesting.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, we hit so many of those points where, okay, yeah, this character's going through this character wants to do that. I wish that there was just a little more. Either, again, I think this is where runtime suffers as well, because this movie is so short. I mean, 104 minutes. It's not so short, but it's 94 minutes, and that's the standard runtime, but I think you cook a little more on the Megatron shift, and I think that's the biggest thing is, I understand the idea of learning about something and immediately, like, losing faith and realizing that your purpose may be it just opens up the door, basically. Like you've realized that what you've been doing for however many years, whether it be 10 years, 5 years, however long, because they're clearly like adult-ish. They're supposed to be like adults, or at least young adults in this timeline, and they've been doing this for however long. And they believed in the cause very much, notably Megatron. The idea that all of it is bullshit that was just constructed to keep you in line would tick you off. And it's either too fast or it's too slow, but I wish that we had I wish that there was a somewhat more, we spent a little more time cooking on it, because he goes, and I understand the idea of, I don't like the leadership, but then I don't like you either, Optimus. Like, he's like, that's something that portion of it where the fracture of the friendship is what I think should have been spent more time on. Like, you can fracture with the belief in the government and the system and all of that. I understand that. But then at the same time, he's fracturing from Optimus, and I think that's where we could have sort of filled a little more of a gap there of understanding.
There's still aspects of this world I'm still confused about. Like, I'm still confused about the... what was Optimus searching for in the beginning? Was he just, like, going through, like, the secret library files and just, like...
He's going through to find a way... Because he was trying to find a way, basically, to solve something that would help them... He's looking for something that was going to solve the issues that were fake to begin with. None of it was actually going to solve a problem, because what he was looking for was faulty. They had it, right? They had the thing. The guy had the thing, or whatever. And so, they found it, they got the thing, and then they went from there, right? Like, the thing that they were looking for, they did find, because it was in one of the primes, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's what he gave to them, I believe. And then they were able to use it to their advantage. No, I'm sorry. He did find it when he died. Remember that. He fell into the core of the planet, and then he gets the thing. Like, somehow he has a vision. And the vision gives him the thing that he was looking for, which is the MacGuffin, that with the barrier thing he pulls out and does all that. The alien ships are another thing that, like, the aliens that are coming in and all of that. That's another thing that, again, like, it's interesting that you have this antagonist it's an antagonist to the antagonist. What's the reason that the antagonist is doing these things? Well, we needed a reason. Here's the thing. Okay.
This movie is, like, it tries to be, like, also kind of, like, jokey at some points, but, like, a lot of the jokes didn't really hit for me.
Badassatron.
That didn't really hit.
I laughed at the first
fine.
2 times, and then it was like a tired joke that kept running.
I didn't need to keep... He didn't need to keep saying it. I think there's, like, 1 or 2 jokes that, like, I think I laughed at, that I chuckled at, but I don't remember them. So I think I did, like, have a aha moment of, it was, like, the, like, in the beginning, the female bot saying, like, you don't have the touch, or you don't have the power. And I'm like, ha! That's a song from the first movie! She said it!
Yeah. There you go. You got the touch. Yeah.
You got the touch! You got the power!
Again, they're like, it's interesting because, again, like, a Paramount Animation, or whatever this division is, Hasbro, Paramount Animation, they're doing this 2 in a row here, where it's kind of like they're both doing the same thing with TMNT, with Mutant Mayhem, where they, it's like you go after the younger timeline, and you're doing a reset. And I think that TMNT handled it better, and in a more interesting way that kind of diverts from a standard story.
Well, these characters, like, have nuance to this. Like, these characteristics have, like, actual, like, interest they can bring to this type of story. These, like, the characters we're following here kind of feel cookie cutter, like...
Yes.
I forgot the pink robot's name, but, like, she is just, like,
female character.
Strong
female
independent female character that, like, that's also the straight man.
Yes.
I mean, we got a lot of those in recent times.
Comic relief.
Comic relief that doesn't make any fun. He's just a goofball, and he doesn't take anything seriously. The motivated...
I feel
character that believes in himself no matter what people tell him.
The blind optimist.
Literally optimist. He's gonna have, but you just know he's going to have that part in the middle of the movie where he doesn't believe in himself, and the character is like, "What are you doing? Don't you used to believe in yourself?" And he's like, "Oh, you're right."
I will say there was also the moment where, and again, there are, like, I don't want to dig negatively all the time, but there's just moments that are surprising. But I will say this feels like it could have 7 different spin-offs for Paramount Plus shows. And again, that goes back to the toyetic design. But there was a moment where Megatron goes and takes control of this group, and I was surprised. It was weird. It reminded me of Dune 2. Not that it's a copycat, but I'm saying, like, In Dune 2, you see what's his name, Willy Wonka actor, go up and he challenges for the position and he stands in front of the crowd of everyone and they're all supposed to believe in him suddenly. And it's like tough to believe that no one would challenge him. You know what I mean? It's just like, you seem very underpowered. It seems like at least a few strong men would try. And in this movie...
He seems like he's like fully kicking ass as like his new transformed self, because are you talking about before he takes the core or after he takes that core?
Before. Because remember, he goes to the core. The core
from the main villain, I mean.
Before he takes the core. This is like when they're in the Badlands, basically in the hyena section in The Lion King. When they're with the crew of Transformers that are not antagonists but are like in the Shadow Realm, you know what I'm talking about? Remember that part? They're in the Shadow Realm or whatever, and they have their own
Resistance.
The Resistance, yeah.
There you go.
But like the leader, he takes down the leader, and no one's like, all right. He's like, does anyone else? No one, and of course, because it's a traditional movie, no one's going to challenge him. But in that moment, of course, you're talking about scroungers that are just doing anything to live. Of course, one of them's going to be like, you just beat up our leader, and I think I could lead better. Fuck it, I'll fight you. Like, but no one. He just takes control, and then it's Megatron's to own forever and ever. Like, again, I understand these are just standard movie, like, plot points. Like, boop, 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 next. But, it's like, okay. Alright.
I can say, like, I definitely wasn't disappointed with this movie. It just met with expectations, and my expectations was, like, this trailer didn't really sell it that well. It doesn't really look that good. But like, just like it looks like some of the animation for the action scenes are fine, and it's like like the action scenes are good, the animation action scenes are good, the dialogue is not that great, it's a fine movie.
Music is great, action sequences are great, and that's about it.
Yeah, like when because like I like a lot of the set pieces. If this movie was like cutscenes to like. Even a generic action game, I think that would be.
That's what I was thinking.
It would just be Game of the Year.
I was thinking like this.
This is a fun video game I want to play. Man.
You know what's funny is you reminded me of something when I was watching this and I went through. They get to the race. All of it feels like it should be a licensed video game. You get to the race sequence, that's a licensed video game portion. You get to the train sequence, that's a video game portion. You're hiding from the bad guys in the tunnel, that's a video game portion. You resuscitate one of the super villain, one of the good guys or whatever, and they tell you about something, that's a good. You fight the big bad boss. All of it feels like this should easily have gotten some sort of licensed video game, or it should be the video game for, like, Transformers 1 just should have been a video game, maybe. Like, this story is too hollow, it feels like, to support just a standard movie. Maybe this should have been an experience that you played, and that's how you went. That's one of the biggest things I felt coming out of this movie. What else was there going to be? Do you think that this movie, I talked about it briefly, but do you think this movie suffers from the Star Wars Rebels effect where, again, it looks so toyetic and kid-focused that you lose a large percentage of the audience that, like adults watched the Clone Wars when it was on Cartoon Network. People were significantly interested in that, like, all ages. But once you got Rebels, the first thing that people thought of when they saw Rebels was, wow, this looks like it's for Disney Jr. or for Nick Jr. or its design led people to believe that it was of softer tone and was not aimed at them. Do you think that that the design of these Transformers in this world, notably in the trailers, gave the impression that it was kind of in the Rebel effect of younger audiences?
I think I think it's mostly because like people are aware that like there was already Transformers TV shows, and I think the most recent one was also CG. So to most audiences, like, oh, this is like probably a continuation of that CG Transformers, whatever, or like this probably like connect to that movie in some way. I'm just a fan of the live action stuff, so I'm just gonna wait for the live action stuff. If Transformers was like more absent of a property, and like we just got those movies, and like the shows are like far and few between. I think this movie probably get like a lot more attention from like Transformers. I haven't seen that in a while, but like it's more like just saturation. Just cause it's also doesn't the animation doesn't look stylized or in any way. It's just generic animation. Turtles does. That's the interesting because like if Turtles Mutant Mayhem was just regular CG, it would just be compared to the 2007 Turtles.
Agreed.
Which is that I don't know if that movie
or even 2012 Turtles.
Yeah, but like that was at least a different art style and everything.
Agreed.
But also that's still a TV show. But like 2007, you look at 2007 Turtles, like generic CG movie Turtles.
Yeah. And
it's like they can't do that again. They'll just get compared to that. So like you look at Transformers, like TV shit, but it's in theaters now. If like my dream thing when it's announced they were doing an all animated Transformers. And I talk about this before. It's like
we did when we did the review for TMNT.
Transformers in the art style of Mutant Mayhem or at least Spider-Verse.
Yeah. We talked about it.
No matter how the script is, even if it's the fucking same, it's like that would just visually that would carry my interest throughout the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
I will see that movie through visuals alone, and I think a lot of people would too if they just just giant fighting robots to that art style would be so fucking epic.
Agreed, because it's weird because again, for the art style they chose, it just does not highlight well in the movie. You have the moments when you're on the surface for a little bit. You have those beautiful background vistas for a little bit when they're on the train, and there's this color palette that's very interesting looking, and it looked great, but that was probably for 5 minutes. Then we get back to
it just looks like a nice AAA game, and it's
true.
What sucks is our AAA games for our cartoon games are getting so good they're starting to look like movies, and you look at Ratchet and Clank, it looks like an animated movie.
Yep.
So it's now when you have that's why you have to get more creative in art styles, because now when you have movies that look like this. They makes me think of a video game.
Absolutely.
I would enjoy this more as a video game.
I think here's what I'll say. I like the we can wrap up slowly, but I like the voice acting. I think that it was a great idea that Megatron's voice actor, who was Paperboy in Atlanta, he slowly progressed. You hear it in his voice. I like that idea of the modulation slowly getting. As he's becoming more...
Yes.
And it fits so well, because by the time he's on top of that pedestal on the final fight, and he's all in, the voice act, the range there and the modulation there is awesome. And it feels like you are watching, again, a big budget TV show fight. So it feels like. It just looks like, okay, yeah, I'm watching a big budget TV show fight. But it was fun. I had a great time. That's what I remember out of this movie is that final fight. The combat there I had a lot of fun in that moment. And I had some fun in the racing moment, and I had some fun in the train. But those are few and far between. In the middle of it, it gets kind of safe and generic. As I said over the phone to you, if I was 8, 9, 10, and this came out, I'd probably have watched this a million times.
Well, I was never interested in Transformers franchise in general, so I never watching the shows and stuff. But through commercials and the two movies I saw. I'm just so used to Optimus with that. I forgot the voice actor's name with that deep voice.
Peter Cullen.
Peter Cullen. I'm Optimus Prime. I'm so used to that. It's especially it gets weird when I hear him in a different voice. Especially when I've seen a clips of the evolution of Optimus Prime in different TV shows, and when I think I saw a clip of the recent recent CG Transformers show.
Yeah.
And Optimus has a different voice. I'm like, ugh.
I will say that's
a normal dude.
I will say I got over Megatron's voice. I said voice acting is great. Correction. Megatron's voice is great. I like Keegan-Michael Key, but I wish Bumblebee was not the Beast Boy here. I wish that you could just have given him, because again, it feels like they said we need something to keep kids interested, because I guess that they thought kids would, even though Spider-Verse made a lot of money and didn't have a comic relief character every 5 seconds. It feels like they saw this movie without Bumblebee being a comic relief, and they said we need to toss some more comedy in here every 5 seconds, and it just was not funny, and his voice was a little grating, and I wish that again it was played a little more straight for because Bumblebee's fun, but I prefer the type of character that was in Rise of the Beasts that Pete Davidson played, where he's joking, but it's not every 5 seconds. It's like you get him and then different scene, and then he's gone. But like once we get Bumblebee in the movie, he's saying a joke almost all the time. Yeah. I agree with you on the Peter Cullen thing. Like, I think especially in the beginning, Hemsworth is really trying, but it just sounds a little like he's going from deep to not deep to deep to not deep to deep, and then like as time goes on, it feels like then when he gets the MacGuffin in the dream sequence, everything out in the final fight, then he sounds like he actually has it. But leading up to it, I understand this might have been like, all right, well, he's getting his voice or whatever. Optimus is getting his voice or whatever, but it was a little, not jarring, but a little bit like, didn't sound the best. You know?
Yeah, I got used to it. I know, like, this is a different interpretation, so it's like, kind of like how I got used to, like, the Chris Pratt Garfield. I'm like, okay, this is what this incarnation sounds like. Yeah. This is not what the incarnation sounds like. This is what this incarnation sounds like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, and the voice acting is fine.
Yes.
In this movie.
Was this better than Garfield for me? Yes. But I put them in the same camp, where it's one of those where
I think it's Garfield is good the first 15 minutes. That's a fun Garfield cartoon, and then he just goes to some kind of fucking direct-to-video movie. Direct-to-video, like, mission or some shit. That would be stupid.
Yes. But both of them, if DVDs are still as big of a deal in 5 years, both of them would be in the Big Lots bargain bin in about 5 years or 2 years, just because of the way that they are. Like they're not Inside Out 2. They're not.
What do you mean DVDs? What are those?
So,
it's a year 20. It's a year 2060. What's a Blu-ray? What's a disc?
Pretty soon we're going to have to say what's a USB-A, because they're getting rid of all the USB-A drives on new computers now. So it's all going to USB-C only pretty soon. So yeah, everything's changing. All right, good time. I got to run to the bathroom, so we're going to take a break.
What the fuck is physical, Dad?
We'll take
Grandpa?
a break. We'll take a break. Mark, would you recommend seeing this? What's your rating?
We're doing ratings now?
You don't have to do ratings, but like, it's not going to be in my top 10. I don't think it's going to be in yours.
This probably be like fucking number 3.
There you go.
Be like number 3.
Is it going to be below If?
It's fucking
good for you. It's going to be below If. I know you love If, so I'm waiting to see that.
They're on par.
Good.
Couple pens above both of them, bitch.
Now that's the movie right there. All right, guys, we'll be back after the break.
We're taking a break. Bryan's gone, so I'm just right here eating chips ahoy. Alright, see you for the next pod.